I think I should read something from the, PERINEAL chapter, the one about my sex life, because I just feel that was like one of my most honest chapters. Perennial woes. So the thought of having sex after my vagina had dilated 10 centimeters, torn at the perineum, been stitched up, required application of calendula, betadine, and anesthetic gel twice a day while I was bleeding for 4 weeks straight just didn't occur to me. I don't think I looked at my partner in any remotely lustful way for months, despite his tenderness. And if he had any desire for me, he certainly kept it discreetly tucked behind a shower curtain. As far as I was concerned, I was never going to have sex again. Actually, the trigger was pregnancy itself and the horrors of it. And I actually wrote, I made a little poster when I was pregnant, when I was almost 9 months pregnant, and it had all the three trimesters and drawings of myself and how I was feeling and what I was thinking during those times. And, it was just a poster I put up on Instagram, and I thought it would be nice to share with people who are going through it, because, nobody tells you all this stuff that you go through, or it didn't feel like I was prepared to when I got pregnant. So it started there, and then I left. I mean, I didn't think about it, but I kept journaling once in a while things that I was going through. And about 2 months after I had Sappho, I decided to start actually, making this into writing a book. I was very nervous about writing. First time I'm writing a book, I was totally nervous. I mean, two things have helped. One was that my illustrator is a very close friend of mine. So I was able to really delve deep with her. I could describe a dream I had, or, I could describe something very personal to her. And I know because she's my friend, she'll keep it to herself and then find a way to illustrate it. So that was very useful. The second thing that really helped me was my editor, Mansi Subramaniam. I wrote chapter by chapter, first, second, third, like that. So I went in a linear order, and each time I finished a chapter, I sent it to her. She would give me feedback. I would get depressed for 2 days. I would look at it. I thought I'd done such a good job. Then I would be, I have to do more research, have to do more work, and then go back to it. So like that, yeah. Every chapter I would get some feedback and rework the chapter and continue. I was pregnant before COVID happened, so I didn't actually write anything during I didn't write this book at all during my pregnancy, and I didn't even think I was going to write a book. It's only post-lockdown, 1 month post-lockdown and 2 months post giving birth, that I was having a lot of time because I wasn't going anywhere for work, and I didn't have a lot of time because I was parenting full on. I had a 12-year-old boy and a newborn, so it was really hard work. But I felt like I needed to, do something with this, because it was so. I felt like I haven't read so much material on parenting, which is, which is more sort of internal. It's usually about the problems you have with your diet, or problems you need to have in order to, the technical problems that you have when you're giving birth and when you're having pregnancy problems, whatever. But I didn't feel like it really delved into the internal works and what happens to your mind and your heart during this time. So that's what I wanted to write about. People get pregnant all the time, and we don't hear about their struggles very often. The title is Abort Mission. The first chapter is called Abort Mission. And I started with writing about 3 or 4 lines on my abortions. And I left it at that. I didn't delve into detail. And I sent the first chapter to my editor, and she said, this is a really big thing you're writing here. You're writing it in just 3 or 4 lines, but it's a lot of people don't, it's a big taboo, and it's not talked about. So why don't you talk about your experience of that? And I completely agreed with her and followed her advice, and went back to that time and realized, so many women I know are having abortions that either because they feel they're too young to have a child, or because they already have too many children. I mean, there's both spectrums. And they just talk about how they've had to confide in somebody years later, and at the time they were alone. Nobody picked them up from the hospital. They went home alone, all this stuff. And I feel like if you have broken your arm, you're going to call up your parents or your friends or your loved ones to come and pick you up from the hospital or take you to the hospital. And yet when you have an abortion, it's all hush hush, and you got to do this without, and be strong and don't tell anyone. And I feel that's sad that we don't have the support system around, even though we have the legal support. I can only speak from my experience, but it was extremely helpful in dilation for me. I dilated much faster once I was in the water. Secondly, you're floating, so you're not carrying your extra, whatever it is, 20 kilos or 15 kilos of weight that you normally have to carry. So when you're in water, you don't feel that pressure of carrying, as well as the pressure of the contractions. These are the two main things. Secondly, it's more intimate. I mean, I think because you have to have help, somebody holding you in the water. There's always, there was always my doula holding my hand, or my husband holding my hand. And I feel like that kind of support around you is not often found in a clinical, in a bed, or, when you're just lying. Secondly, in water, you can move your positions around when you're in labor. So sometimes lying on your back is not the most conducive to giving birth. Sometimes it's better to be on your front, on your haunches. So this allows you to really move without too much effort in the water. So these are all great things. Of course, finding the right support, the right doctor to do it is very important. It's extremely exhausting. And I just keep saying that if you have, for example, nurses looking after a patient in a hospital 24 hours, okay, 24/7, for over a period of 24 hours, you will have 4 different nurses taking care of that patient, right? But when a mother is breastfeeding, she's doing that every 2 hours for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's inhumane, actually, what you're going through. And if you do decide to do it, it's really important that everybody else in the household takes the other tasks, does everything else, so that you can rest. And I don't think that's often the case. Often we're having to do everything. So yeah, this is definitely one thing that was like a big surprise. I feel like there should be 4 people in the house at all times ready to help. I know it's not always possible, and it's really, but yeah, I feel society is lacking in that sense, to not give that kind of support. I think one of the things I said in the book as well is that you ask what is wrong with, what can you do to help her? Not necessarily what can you do to help with the baby. Right. Because everyone is concerned about the baby, naturally. But very, very few people take the approach of, okay, what does the mother need? And how can we give her space and time? It is a very difficult time, I think, for partners, because it's unrelatable unless you're going through it yourself, but it basically stems from extreme exhaustion, basically stems from lack of sleep. So the more you can, give that to your partner, the more likely they will step out of it. And the other thing I would say is go and get the tests done. So what I discovered when I was going through my slump of postpartum depression was that I had a very low iron deficiency, because I had a lot of blood clots after the birth of Sappho. There was a lot of blood loss. So, getting those tests done and realizing that this is a practical problem as well, and getting the right, meds and the right nutrition to replenish was very important. That took at least 3 months to kind of get my levels back to normal.